And we're back for Game 2, AceAl versus CmonMan. And this is a delayed cast because I just couldn't cast it while I was playing. I tried. I really did. But let's just say this is better for everyone. And it's going to be on Habitation Station. Habitation Station has some great play involving the quick gold base. Not quite the same as it used to be on like Metalopolis, of course. And so far, the Mana Wars definitely favor AceAl. Not that big a deal, though. There's the best of 5 settings. Natural Instruments did win that first game. Now let's see if they can get another game. Over here in the top left-hand corner, the blue Zerg for playing for Team BlackBerry, it's AceAl. And over here in the opposite corner, top right, the red Terran, we have CmonMan. Now, in a previous game against National Instruments, there was some dispute over how the name should be said. I am still adamant that it's, come on, man. Why are you sending the Marines out again? We already attacked today. But he has clarified that it's actually supposed to be more like, come on, bro, come at me. Which, as you can see, is not a sentiment I'm good at saying. We might stick with the, come on, man, why me? But we'll leave that to his units, which are now wondering why they're the ones chosen to start building the refinery and the barracks. Quick gas, probably going to be opening with a Reaper. And as I say that, I'm reminded this isn't live casting. So, yeah, my game sense is going to be really, really good this game. Over here we can see that this is not a hatch first. This is going to be opening with early gas as well. Some quick aggression. Speedlings, not so great against Terran, but we could see some Banelings or Roaches. Banelings, not so great against Reapers. I would probably recommend Roaches if I were playing this. And hey, I am. So, I may have given away what's about to happen here. But Reaper versus Roaches is a bit of a one-sided fight. The real trick with Reaper versus Roaches is that Terran has no actual need to take that fight, so the Reaper can easily just stay away. But I've never actually seen anyone just have the Reaper go in and do the drone kills while the Roaches are away. Instead, they seem to think that the Reaper, as their only military unit, should come back and help. And away he goes. Roach Warren is still going up, not done. The Roaches, well, it's very fat. Well, the early Roaches can be a very large amount of troops very quickly. The actual spawning all happens at once, so the first Roach is still not out. This Reaper is going to be fairly uncontested. We'll get a good look. We'll be able to spot exactly what's going on. The real question is, will he see it? He heads up there. Yes, he sees plenty. And now that he knows the Roaches are on the way, what happens back at home?
SCV ready.
Well, he's immediately getting ready to put down some bunker. Reactor. Another barracks. Just needs to be a bit conservative and defend one base. And of course the Reapers coming back waiting at the watchtower for now. Second bunker. A little conservative, but that's probably a good idea. The Roaches are coming across. Here we see a nice, good number of them. 7 to be exact. Very popular number. And if you don't build a bunker against this, you can be in real strife. It is extremely difficult to hold without a bunker. You have to have perfect micro of every unit. Whereas with a bunker, you know, the bunker can take some hits and it gets a lot easier. Proper bunker placement is also necessary, but not quite so hard on this map. Unfortunately, these are the slow Roaches, so as you can see, it's already 6 minutes by the time they get to the opponent's base. Command center on the low ground is not going to be there for long. And there we have Reapers in a bunker against Roaches. Not Not dealing much damage. Let's see how much damage this gets done. So far, we've lost 1 roach for 1 worker. Not a great trade. There's a second worker down. Starting to get more efficient there. And the supply depot being focused, now it's being repaired, and that just means more worker kills. So that's 5 workers now for 5 roaches. Or 4 roaches? Definitely 5 roaches now. And we've got 6 workers for 6 roaches. Okay. The trade favors the Terran player, but I wouldn't say that this has been a catastrophic failure. It's gotten a fair bit of damage. 7 roach. Probably shouldn't have lost that. But it's going to be really hard to keep it alive with the Reapers on the map. We do have that expansion down for our Zerg player, and the drone count is now ahead by less than 6, I might add. So I'd say that roach strike did play all the damage it needed to. Obviously, winning the game is preferable, but it's rare that you win a game with roaches these days unless you're playing ladder. And this unknown calamity was not entirely explained. But there's no problem, as he needs to put together his strategy. If he needs to decide how many Marines before he moves out. Are those bayonets good enough? And we've got some decent movement here from the Marines. Good round over there. We're getting really good damage on both sides. Looks like that's going to be a relatively cost-efficient trade for Zerg, especially since with no medevacs out, those Marines are going to be in the red for a long time. There's also Stim coming down. Can't use that if you're in the red. So we've got the makings of more defensive play here from CmonMan while he builds up a bit more of an infantry army. Marauders, SCVs. No medevacs just yet, but there's a starport preparing for it. Factory building the reactor just for those medevacs. May or may not add in mines. It's not really that great against roaches, but you haven't seen any roaches since the initial rush. And so far, with it looks like with melee upgrades, roaches are not going to be in there. Going on transitioning to a more standard Ling Bane style. Not droning very heavily though. Only a slight drone lead being maintained for our Zerg player. But of course, with the lack of engineering bays, he will get the upgrade lead, which is quite rare to see from the Zerg in ZBT. Normally the Terran player wants to get all the upgrades because it just makes the Marines and Marauders just so powerful in that large ball. With the upgrade league on Zerg's side, the Zerglings can actually take a fight without Banelings and without Mutalisks in sufficient numbers, which is probably the most embarrassing way to lose your Bioball. After all, Baneling landmines meant that the opponent had skill, guile, and cunning as opposed to just lots of little guys. Engineering base still not down. Looks like it's going to power forward with this biomine, medevac. Sheer numbers can be quite good if you don't have the upgrades. The upgrades are going to play a little more later in the game. Looks like I forgot this. And there's a big drop coming. Could do a lot. We've got Banelings and Zerglings ready, I hope. No. No, actually. Nothing. Nothing at home. Those Marines and Marauders, they will push the Zerglings back, so now there'll be something at home. But still not that much. Morphing in an awful lot of Zerglings to try and cover from this, and finally getting those Banelings, but they're going to be a bit late for the drop. And what's this? He found a very nice spot here. There's this lovely little wall made by the Zerg player for the convenience of his enemies. And all but one Marine can just sit there comfortably, shooting drones and the buildings. This may not be the best building placement. Yeah, very embarrassing thing to see out of our Zerg player here. In my defense, I played Zerg because I hate having to do SimCity with my buildings and decide on the building placements. And Zerg has, by far, much less building placement than the other races. But you still need to do that little bit of building placement better than that. So there's something to learn. There's the spawning pool going back down again so that, you know, can build military units. And not very cost efficient, but that drop is cleaned up. And only one medevac, and that poor Marine gets out. So with that down, we've got a significant but not insurmountable advantage for our Terran player, who has been building a lot of SCVs behind this. Roughly double workers. Oh, there's the big fellow drones. Never mind. Equal workers again. Of course, until the spawning pool's up, that's all that our rig player can make. So extreme army lead instead, really. The army value here. Away. Where is army value? Army value is A. Control A. There we go. So the army supply, as you can see, very large advantage to the Terran player. Got another drop happening here. Spotted and shot down fairly easily, but should get some Marines out. Oh, and the Marines drawing the fire. Looks like this is going to work. Zerglings coming in, good transfuse, and that drop's not able to do much. But at the same time, in the front, we have just a few too many units here. Looks like the Marauders would have tanked all of the Zergling shots. And ooh, there we go. Now that army's back. But we're getting a lot more drone kills. So the drone kills, the worker kills that started out with those 6 early workers from the drone rush. Now we're at 19 from our Terran player, adding to that. And he again has a significant worker lead. Active forces, again, a fairly significant lead. Actually, no lead there. Not surprising. We've got this attempt to get up a third, just in time for the Marines to get those missile turrets up. Slow Mutalisk, probably from the distraction of all the harass. And getting into the base there didn't really do that much. Leaving the wall down is supposed to mean instant death for our Terran Protoss friends, but it just doesn't work that way. Still had plenty of reinforcements coming out to try and support that. Finally getting his 1-1 upgrades there. Mutalisk trying to get something done, trying to bring him back in the lead, but not really getting any SCV kills, which are now up to an enormous 71 plus the gold base. So we have a very significant economic advantage from our Terran player here. And given that it's mostly gold-based minerals, I foresee a lot of Marines in the production tab. Also throwing in playing Marauders, good choice against the Banelings, especially since there's no tanks involved here. We had maybe a Scattered Widow Mine earlier, but that's just there in the middle. Not actually coming in with the assault, nothing to really tank those Banelings except for the Marauders. And at least the fourth is slowed down a little, but it's not going to be quite enough. Still very significant worker lead, large Marine count getting quite scary, Mutalisk count just not growing for some reason. And the upgrades, the early 1-1 just not really being capitalized on since 2-2 hasn't been started yet. So our Zerg player probably this looks like he's really low on gas for some reason. Possibly the constant killing of all the drones. And of course, Terran player doesn't need gas, he just makes Marines. And here the Marines come, you can see him just pumping out there. Not being very aggressive with him. By this point he probably could start pushing across the map, expecting his waves of reinforcement Marines to carry the day. But no, instead he's just going to stick on just harvesting that gold base very heavily. Fairly well defended, the Mutalisks aren't going to be able to sneak in there and get anything done. They try, losing a lot of Mutalisks against those missile turrets, not exactly the engagement you want. And we're getting a couple of worker kills now as they take splash damage from shooting the missile turret. In fact, I think now he's just shooting the SCVs that are sitting there like lambs to a slaughter, but the Mutalisks are also taking a fair bit of damage, and they certainly can't compete with the army. Overall, just not quite enough to even up that worker lead. We've got 85 SCVs. That's ridiculous, and that's after taking all that economic damage. I just don't think this guy's ever going to stop producing SCVs. The late game strategy for Zerg here should be just delay until Terran has 180 SCVs, and with 20 army supply, it should be easy to overcome that. Let's be creeping up 89. He is not even maxed out yet, so he has more supply and workers than army already. And here it comes, the big engagement. We've got the Marines, Banelings, everything going in there, some decent splits and some decent connections. But I think that was enough Marines left over. There's nothing left. The Mutalists have to hightail it out of there. And now just even the panic building of Zerglings Well, 42 Zerglings coming in, but the Realists charge in anyways. They're going to be killed off first. The Queen's probably going down. And with 1-1 for both, that Bioball can probably take whatever many Lings are thrown at them. Here they come, one at a time, running past in the rally point. There they go. It's a nice start stuff them, keeps them alive at the little red bars. And the Overseers want to clean it up, but they can't. And the waves of reinforcement Marines, the real secret to Bio Strength, easily able to come in here and stronger than the reinforcing Zerg. This is a very convincing lead for CmonMan. And there's the GG as CmonMan wins the second game for National Instruments, giving them a fairly strong 2-0 lead. And let's see if they can wrap it up in the next game, which is match point.